We're 1 week away from what you worked so hard for.
It's NAIA football with Dannelly and Donley.
And don't you let a moment go without thinking about what's there for you to reach out and grasp.
This is NAIA football, a special NAIA National Championship edition. I'm Jason Dannelly, Pat Donley joining us in just a moment, and the game has just come to completion. The Kaiser Seahawks are your 2023 NAIA football national champions with a win over Northwestern, 31-21. And what a battle, what a game. We'll get into it. Let's bring in Pat Donley. Pat, you, like me, sat there watching this game this afternoon, and almost exactly how we kind of saw this thing going. We both thought Kaiser was maybe the better team, going to have some advantages moving into this ball game, and they came away with the victory. But hard-fought battle by Northwestern, down the pipe there in the fourth quarter, valiant effort, but just fell short.
Yeah, 27-game winning streak, Jason. You got to tip your cap to them. What a run. I thought it really ended up being a good game. Kind of what we predicted of Kaiser coming out and imposing their will very, very early. First play of the game.
11 seconds early.
11 seconds. You saw we had Coach Soshan last week. We talked about last night. What is their identity? It's physicality. It's running the football. It's pressuring on defense, gang tackling. We saw all those things today in the biggest game of the year. So I think Kaiser was the team that I thought just wanted it more, just came and took the game away from a tremendous Northwestern team. But top to bottom, I thought a really well played game by Kaiser. How about Veasley not being available and having a youngster come in and lead the team? The Wake kid just did a tremendous job, managing their offense and made some mistakes, certainly, but made some timely throws as well. I can't even put myself in that situation to have your starter, for the national championship not be available and not announce it. I'm assuming the team probably knew for a while. But man, that's some adversity. Like you mentioned last night, Jason, that's adversity right there to overcome. And the Seahawks certainly did that today.
That's exactly what I was going to get into, Pat. We mentioned it on the show last night. There's always something screwy that happens in the NAIA championship game, and the team that finds their way to get past that little bit of adversity and trudge forward is the one that's going to be successful. And that's not to say Northwestern didn't handle it well. They handled it fine. I just credit Kaiser so much with coming in the game saying, oh, we got number 2 going at quarterback, not our number 1. All right. Hand the ball off to Meisinger, hand the ball off to Burnett. Let's get control of this ball game. Let's do what we do. And they did that. Quick scoring recap for those of you that missed the game. It started off with a 75-yard touchdown run by Jaden Meisinger with 14:49 left to play in the first quarter to put them up 7-0. They went up 10-0 off a 31-yard field goal by Cavanelis with 7 minutes left to go in the second quarter. And then they went up 17-0 with 4:55 left to play in the second quarter on a 1-yard run by Andrew Burnett. Northwestern was able to get on the scoreboard before the end of the first half with a 6-yard pass to Austin Girard by Jalen Gramstead with 29 seconds left to play in the first half. That made it 17-7. Scoring after that, as we got into the third quarter, 5:17 left. Mauricio Portia, a 30-yard touchdown reception coming from quarterback Justin Wake, that number 2 quarterback in the Kaiser system, put him up 24-7. And at this point, it looked like Kaiser was going to run away with it. But credit to Northwestern. Connor McQuillan catches a pass from Jalen Gramstead, a 53-yard score with just 10:54 left to play in the fourth quarter to make it 24-14. Onside kick, Northwestern gets the ball back, and then it's Connor McQuillan going in for a 2-yard score with 7:17 left to play in the fourth quarter. And then on the ensuing kickoff, Lewis Lubin comes away with a 77-yard touchdown kickoff return for a touchdown with 7:06 left to play in the game, and that was the end of the scoring. The Lubin kid for Kaiser played very well today, came up with that big interception at the end of the game, had the touchdown return, had a couple other times, good deflections, good pass coverage. I didn't watch the the post-game ceremony, but I have to think he was going to be in the running for defensive player of the game.
I thought top to bottom, we're going to talk about Northwestern and their tremendous run, but you just talk about Kaiser. I think the pressure all day. I mean, you saw our National Player of the Year really showcase his ability to escape because he had to all day.
Hmm.
We talked about it last night. I thought the pressure schemes in the way that the front would pressure Gramstead would be a factor, and it certainly was. I don't think he was really comfortable all day, Jason. You could see really not playing his back foot very much, delivering the ball on time. Really, things seemed like they were a bit off rhythm, unless it was in the quick game. But taking the ball down the field was a challenge. It had to be something that he would extend to get the ball out, and he did a great job. I think Jalen Gramstead just did an unbelievable job. Had a wonderful game. I really, really do.
Yeah.
I just think that defense just overall was stifling. I mean, stop the run game. I mean, minus yards in the first half rushing. Couldn't get McQuillan going. I think for Northwestern to have success, we talked about that battery of Gramstead and McQuillan had to get the run game going, that balance of run and pass, and that element was completely shut down by Kaiser in the first half. Had a little bit more success in the second. By that point, they're playing from behind. So, I think you really kind of pinpoint that early in the game of Kaiser taking away that element of their offense, which is so important, and really put Gramstead behind the eight ball a little bit, and in long yard situations having to convert. So I was exceptionally impressed. As impressed as I was with the run game of Kaiser offensively, I thought their defense was tremendous today. Their secondary making timely plays. You look at that interception, really to cap off the game at the end. I mean, that's a score, Jason. We got something really interesting going here in the fourth, because you could see that heart of a champion, that team, that Northwestern Red Raider team, really come back and fight with everything they had. McQuillan, Gramstead, Story, all those guys did such a tremendous job really fighting in that fourth quarter. And again, Kaiser comes up with a big play and just turns out the lights. So what a great game. Really the fourth quarter was awfully entertaining. But you just got to evaluate the situation. I thought Kaiser, top to bottom, deserved to win the national championship today.
I was on that last interception. I was really hoping knock it down, kick a field goal, make it 31-24, and then have Kaiser get the stop. Not because one of us may have picked the final score to be 31-24, but hey, I was at least almost right about something in this game with the final score 31-21. I picked 31-24.
The real question is, in all your bets that you've made anytime, have you ever gotten the score perfect?
I have. I have. I believe the first championship Sioux Falls won against you guys. I think I actually picked that score. I know I also in this NAI postseason, I picked the Dickinson State Montana Tech score. Absolutely correct too. So
there you go.
Hey, a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and again, right?
We're both close.
When you're predicting 100 games a week, like you're going to get a 17-14 game right occasionally.
Right. Yeah,
hey,
until the Kaiser kick return, I had it right. Like,
you did. Oh no! Stop! Tackle him!
Stop! Tackle him!
Jalen Gramstead, let's talk about him in this game. 15 of 34 passing, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns, through that interception at the end of the game. But I don't think he can, really put that on the type of day he had. A playmaker. And again, I look at his performance and I'm like, well, yeah, he's still the NAI Player of the Year. The performance today, 287 yards against a defense like Kaiser's. That's a heck of a performance that he put up. 47 yards on the ground rushing. Connor McQuillan, you talked about this stat a little bit, 9 carries for just 5 yards in the running game. So really, outside of Gramstead running the ball, designed run plays, Northwestern just did not have much success. You mentioned Michael Story last night, how he needed to have a big game. He was really one of the reasons why they were able to stay in this. 6 catches, 121 yards, a long of 39. Connor McQuillan had 3 catches for 86 yards and a score. So the passing game for Northwestern kept them in this, but not to the same degree that Kaiser's running game just kind of dominated this ball game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, talking Northwestern's offense, like you mentioned, just that balance wasn't there. And I think that's an absolute key element for their success. I thought they threw it very well, again, even though under duress so many times and really out of that timing because of the pressure of Kaiser. I thought Kaiser, we talked about last night again, Jason, I think they did a great job mixing up their looks, extreme pressure, playing man-to-man coverage and playing some zone, dropping people, giving the National Player of the Year a lot of different looks, and have some things to look at that to challenge the processing speed and decision making for him. I thought they did a great job, really giving him different things. But I thought Jalen Gramstead played tremendous. Michael Story was great. I thought McQuillan out of the backfield in the receiving game was tremendous. Just could not get that running game going. I thought that was, like we mentioned before, I think that was the real issue for Northwestern, not having that balance, not be able to control, not being in third and longs constantly. I would love to see that stat. I don't know what the third down conversions were. I don't think they were great for Northwestern today. It didn't seem like it as watching the game. It seemed like there's a lot of third and longs. That's not Northwestern Red Raider football. They want to be in those short conversions. I mean, completing 60% on third down conversion for the year. I would bet my life they weren't even close to that today. So again, tip your cap once again to Kaiser on that.
Well, and 60% third down conversion on the year, I would be willing to bet it was a lot of 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4,
No
3rd
question.
and 2s, not 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 15 that they were seeing in today's game. Let's look at the Kaiser statistics real quickly. Justin Wake, what a ball game for a guy coming in off the bench in relief of Bryce Veasley, who did not play in this game due to a hand injury. 10 of 15 throwing, 117 yards, threw a touchdown, did have 2 picks in the game. A great performance by Wake coming off the bench. And, think about that, Pat. You've coached in national championship games. Granted, they probably had a little bit of an idea before the game that they were going to go with Wake, but knowing that you're going to be playing in a national title game without your starting quarterback, Northwestern tried to do it back in the 2021 season when Koima went down in the semifinal game, after the semifinal game, and they had to go with the backup in the championship against Lindsey Wilson. Lindsey Wilson wins that game, what was it, 45-13? I wrote it down as a note here. Yeah, 45-13. So Northwestern has dealt with that situation before. Kaiser this year deals with it as well as dealing with it last year, and they come away with the victory. Great performance by Wake.
Yeah, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. I mean, what he was asked to do, he executed. It's bootlegs. There was some RPO, or maybe there's a quick play action element. I couldn't really see some of the quick game stuff they were doing off the play action. He executed those things fairly well. They were just itching to call that play action pass for the touchdown, the way they were established in the run game. And, we'll get to that here momentarily, but it all starts there. I mean, we talked about it. I think, Veasley and Wake both, they can manage the system. They manage the run game. I thought, if we're jumping into the run game, I know we're talking about Wake, but the run game, I can tell you right now, Jason, looking at it just from the TV version, they attacked every gap. I mean, stretched out Northwestern's offense or defense so well on the stretch running game, moving those linebackers side to side, having those defensive linemen have to play wide on that stretch play. And those backs for Kaiser cut back and see gaps and see holes so well on that scheme. And then they hit it right in A gap, right at you, hard and fast. I mean, they do so many things in the run game. I thought their counter plays that they ran were just exceptionally right time, were called and executed. I think the run game is one of the best I've seen in the NAIA, Jason. Just in what they do collectively, attacking all those gaps with formations, and then the 2 horses they have carrying it. I mean, it's just tremendous. And then you couple that, getting back to Wake's performance, the bootleg game, the quick play action, the shot play for the touchdown was all set up because of that run game, purely.
Jaden Meisinger, 22 carries, 261 yards, a long of 75. You take his long play out of this, he still runs for 190. Crazy. Andrew Burnett, 18 carries, 65 yards. Justin Wake, the quarterback, 4 carries, 50 yards. 35 of those 50 yards coming on a run at the end of the game, but still positive yardage for him, in this ball game. Just, I can't, I'm like you. I look at Jaden Meisinger and what he accomplished today, and then the Burnett kid to complement what he is as a running back. They have 2 different styles of running, and Meisinger, I think, is a little more exciting, but that Burnett kid is a workhorse when he gets in there. He had some opportunities maybe to break a couple big plays, missed a gap here and there, maybe didn't have the right cut, but regardless, Kaiser's run game, I'm with you, Pat. I don't know if I've seen a better running game in the NAIA in a number of years.
Yeah, it's just they do a lot of different things. Like I said, if you're attacking wide, tight in those schemes, and you have those big guys, Kaiser's not real tall up front. They're kind of big and heavy guys, but they're really athletic, and they get tremendous push. They get up to the second level really, really well. And you see those two running backs. I mean, contact. How many yards after first contact did you see today? I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, Meisinger, it was probably 100 yards plus. And I remember, I think it was in the second quarter, Jason, when really Kaiser was taking control up front. Burnett got a whole series, and it's like 6'2", 225, and tackled that guy. And it's all knees and shoulder pads. I mean, he's driving his legs. There's guys making contact in the backfield, and he shrugs off, then goes for 5 yards. He goes for 6, falls forward for 5. I mean, over and over and over again. And I'll be honest with you, I think Coach Sosha's staff did a tremendous job, and congratulations to those guys for winning the national championship. They might have ran the ball every single play. Jason still won the football game. I'm serious when I say that. Yeah. They were that dominant up front, and the way those two carried it was exceptional. So, man, oh man, old school. And we've talked about for the last handful of weeks. It's old school football. It is physical, point of attack. Hitting the run game in all different areas of those gaps of that defense, and they go out and pound it and do it well. Exceptionally well.
Mauricio Porcia, 2 catches, 45 yards. Seth Roll, 3 catches, 37 yards. Van Gaites, 2 receptions, 17 yards. Meisinger had 2 catches for 14 yards, and DeAndre Golden 1 catch for 4 yards on the Kaiser offense. I mean, like you said, the passing game not as much of a factor. It loosened things up a little bit, made Northwestern respect the pass, and just allowed Kaiser to run the ball more. But I'm like you, Pat. I think if this was a game where weather was suspect, wet game, something like that, I think Kaiser would have been perfectly happy just handing the ball off every single play in this game.
No doubt. And, talking about Wake again, the bootleg game, he had a couple really big completions that really extended drives for some chunk plays. And then we talked about that play action touchdown that they hit in the third. That was so huge. So, again, he managed the game exceptionally well. He did exactly what he was asked to do. He wasn't asked to sit there and throw it 40 times. That's not going to be what he was going to do, nor would have been Beasley's. So those guys, both of them, managed that offense exceptionally well. So, like you talk about adversity, I as a coach, as an offensive coordinator, I'd be like, oh boy, my backup's in there. I mean, and again, we may have asked a little bit more of our quarterbacks when I was coaching in our system, but for what they do offensively, Kaiser, both of those guys did an exceptional job. Obviously, Beasley getting him here at this point, and then Wake executing as well as he did in the national championship.
Maddox April of Kaiser's defense, 2 sacks today. Jertavius Black had a sack, 2 passes broken up by Wendell Phil Lord, as well as the quarterback Curry. Phil Lord had a real nice punt return. Also,
what a player!
Back, yeah, great ball player there. And of course, we talked about Lewis Lubin. He had an interception in this ball game, 2 passes broken up. So that Kaiser defense just coming at him all day long, putting a lot of pressure on Northwestern in this ball game.
I'll be honest with you, looking at that secondary, Jason, they were in so much cover 1. So it's 1 free safety, the safety on top, man everywhere else, and a lot of cover 0. So it's purely man-to-man across the board with those pressure schemes. So they're asked to do a whole lot, and I thought those DBs were exceptional. Just over and over again. Really, the only time that I saw they had the one big play, Northwestern got storied down the field. I thought Northwestern, from a schematic standpoint, did a great job of stacking receivers to allow releases. Because I'll tell you what, man, if you line up against those corners and they're pressed up on you, good luck. So I think Northwestern was smart in their approach formationally to give their guys opportunity to get off the line of scrimmage and release. You see a lot of movement on the perimeter with the receivers. That is purely to get them clean releases versus those cover corners. So you've got to tip your cap to those guys. You see Story so much in the slot, so you have safeties rolled down and playing him man-to-man. So you talk about 4 DBs back there that all can play man-to-man coverage well and run. They absolutely can. And they were asked to do a lot, and I thought they did an exceptional job. Of course, Northwestern had their moments, but when it mattered the most, I thought the pass rush and then the secondary play from Kaiser was tremendous.
Take a look at Northwestern's defense. Clayton Bozema had 6 tackles in this game, 3 solo, 3 assists, a tackle for loss. You had Tristan Voss, 11 total tackles in this game, 6 solo, 5 assisted tackles. Ben Eagley, 5 total tackles. Cole Tedford also had those. No sacks from the Northwestern defense, but there weren't a lot of situations for them to get sacks, considering how much Kaiser ran the ball in the pass defense. Kyler Fritz did have an interception in this ball game, as well as Clayton Bozema. Those are the 2 interceptions that Kaiser that Kaiser had. Really, Northwestern's defense looked okay, but they just early on in this game, first and second quarter, that Kaiser rush just really put it to them, and that controlled this game. So credit to both teams. A great national championship game, exactly what you want to see in a national championship game. Teams battling to the very end. Whoever's behind in the fourth quarter still having a shot to win. Northwestern just about pulled it out, but Kaiser ends out as this year's national champion.
Yeah, it was a great game. I think the NAIA has to be pleased with the product. I thought it was first class in the way both institutions looked, the programs looked. I think that's a very important thing for our affiliation. So I'm very, very happy. I thought the game looked good, Jason. I thought the venue was sharp looking, and I thought the coverage from ESPN was really good. Another thing I'm going to throw out, you never hear this especially from an old coach. I thought it was well officiated. Really strong officiating. I mean, made the right calls, had to go back and review some things. Thought they did a great job. So I thought just top to bottom, just a clean football game, great football game, very entertaining, kind of fun at noon. Have a little lunch and watch some football, and get a chance to actually have a little more invested interest into it for me. Evaluating it and trying to get some work done too today. I am working today. But it was good. It was good to watch.
I took the half-day vacation, which I've got to get back to work here in just a little bit, so we'll have to wrap this up. Total team stats real quick, 490 total yards for Kaiser in this game, 338 for Northwestern, 117 yards passing for Kaiser, 287 yards passing for Northwestern. And as for rushing, where's my total rushing yards on this? Of course, why would they just not put there? No, that's rushing first downs. So going through the thing here. Net yards rushing, finally. 373 yards rushing for Kaiser, 51 yards rushing for Northwestern. That kind of tells the story of the game right there.
There you go. Tells everything you need to know. I wonder if that's a record. And probably those Carson Newman teams, triple option back in the day, probably had more. But for a national championship game to rush over 300 yards, that is remarkable.
I need to get the NAIA championship game manual. I have got the records for the championship series, and net yards rushing by an individual is 318 yards. Tyler Jack, East Central Oklahoma. Net yards rushing and passing, that's a combined one. I'm not seeing like the most yards rushing, by a team.
Team stats. It's got to be up there. I'm sure those 80s triple option teams, the old great Carson Newman teams, I would guess are up there.
530. 530.
That's a lot. Was that Carson Newman?
No, it was actually Northwestern back in 1985 against West Wisconsin. Or excuse me, no, it was Willamette. Willamette versus Bethany, Kansas, 1997. That's championship series, not championship game.
Gotcha. Not the game.
We'll find those stats, and I'm sure if it was a record, it'll be in the press release that we post on the website later. So, Pat, I'll give it to you for your final thoughts, and then I'll wrap things up.
No, I mean, we pretty much did everything. I thought it was a tremendous game. Like I mentioned, you see the overall speed, the team speed with Kaiser, their physicality up front on both lines of scrimmage really was the tail of the tape. And you read those stats of the rushing yards. That's really all you need to know. But overall, I thought it was a tremendous national championship game. I think our national player of the year, Jalen Gramstead, and that program, Northwestern, deserves so much credit. What a run that they've been on, and I thought a tremendous performance by Gramstead in a tough situation. What a great defense, and he was pressured all day and just flourished even in a loss. So well fought. I thought that fourth quarter was tremendous in their comeback. What a great game. So I think it was a great showcase for our affiliation today and a very, very well played national championship.
You've had Northwestern making a run of things the last couple years, 27 wins in a row. They lose this game in the national championship to Kaiser, who was there, of course, last year, as we all know. They get their first national championship in only 6 years as a program. So this is a program that is on the up and the rise, and it makes for exciting times in the NAI when you see teams like Kaiser that are new to the affiliation winning a championship. College of Idaho right there in the Final Four. Georgetown, a blue blood, back in the semifinals. Teams like St. Xavier, up-and-coming teams like Dort and Ottawa making it into the postseason. It's a fantastic level of NAIA, or a fantastic level of football at the NAIA level. So happy to be covering it. And Pat, I appreciate all of your expertise in the game planning side of things and being able to join us on the show. So Pat, thank you again. I thank
Absolutely
all of our wonderful viewers out there that have decided to check out our post-game coverage and all of our coverage throughout the season. We'll be back sometime in January with more NAI football with Dannelly and Donley. But for Pat Donley, I'm Jason Dannelly. This is NAI football from the Victory Sports Network. Congratulations to the Kaiser Seahawks, your 2023 NAI football national champion.